Summertime. In the Manhattan neighborhood of Hell's Kitchen, a young boy named Matt Murdock cherishes the days full of mischief. On one of these days, Matt gazes at a police officer who is scolding a group of children, telling them that they should be more like the Murdock boy that never gets in trouble. Wearing a mask and riding his skateboard, Matt steals the officer's nightstick and escapes with it to his favorite place, the gym. Nowadays, this place is empty, but still echoes the past glories of battling Jack Murdock, Matt's dad. At home, Matt wakes up to his father drinking over an old photograph again, mumbling the name Maggie. Matt helps him to bed, hearing his father's apologies. The next day, at the gym, Jack Murdock is being beaten up by Slade, an henchman of a mobster named Fixer. He's demanding Jack to work for them collecting unpaid protection money, but Jack refuses to collaborate, so Slade threatens his son's life. Jack only feels himself in the ring, in the heat of combat, where he forgets how he spends his days, where he's a warrior, not a mob enforcer, where he's a champion, not a thug. At home, Jack makes his son promise not to get in trouble and focus on his studies. Matt explains that the other boys call him names, so he has no other choice but to fight, comparing himself to his father, who will surely do the same. Jack agrees, even though that didn't do him any favors in life, telling his son that they owe it to his mother that he becomes special and nothing like himself. Matt promises, but a few weeks later he comes home proud of beating another boy, and Jack slaps him for it. His father never struck him before. The thought of him being able to do it makes Matt realize that if his dad can be wrong, then anybody can do bad things. And the only way to stop people from being bad is to make rules and laws. So Matt is determined to study them. Every night and weekend, Matt has to fight the urge to leave his room and answer the endless taunts of other kids that eventually give him a nickname, Daredevil. Recess becomes purgatory, but Matt doesn't fight, saving his rage to be released at the gym, where his fists are like machine gun fire, drowning out his sobs. In the shadows, a man watches him silently, feeling the boy's fury, waiting for him to meet his destiny. On another day, a blind man crosses the street. A truck loaded with radioactive chemicals can't stop in time, but Matt is there to save the man. The barrels are punctured, spraying chemicals across Matt's eyes, and in an instant he's blinded. He's overwhelmed by his senses, feeling the sheets on his skin like sandpaper, the smell of chemicals and disinfectants telling him he is arriving at the hospital, the intense smell of sweat emanating from the people coming and going, and above all, the pain. Days later, Matt is recovering, dealing with what he's become. Nobody understands except the woman that comes to visit. She calms him, calling his enhanced senses a blessing and making him promise to keep them a secret. She's loving and caring, and he feels a golden cross across her neck, but then she lives with her mystery. Weeks later, Matt is back home, listening to everything around in the city, isolating every voice, not missing a word. But none of these drowns the conversation just behind him, between his father and the representatives of the chemical company, responsible for his blindness. They don't take accountability for the accident, threatening Jack to reveal his work with the fixer if he talks to the press or files a complaint. Weeks go by and Matt feels everybody's pity, but there's no pity in the mysterious man that follows him. In the gym, where now Matt cries with frustration, the man finally speaks, telling him to stop feeling sorry for himself. He calls himself Stick. He takes Matt to a dusty basement and tells him that he's also blind, being born like this on the street. He's going to train Matt here every spare hour he has, and if he's good, Stick will make him a warrior so Matt can help him. Matt asks why he needs help, but Stick evades the question, telling him to concentrate and feel the air in the room. At first, Matt is confused, not sensing anything, but soon he starts to feel the distance between the walls. Stick smacks him a few times to Matt's frustration, until eventually he starts to feel the shapes formed by the air, defending himself. Matt spends months training, finding hope in the voice of his teacher. He's much better at identifying objects, sensing a bow and arrow in Stick's hands. Matt fails to see the purpose until Stick strikes the bullseye 3 times in a row. It's Matt's turn, and he misses many times, Stick pressing him to try again and again until his body aches. But then he strikes the target off center. Stick waves this off as luck, so Matt tries again, striking the center this time, his next arrow splitting the last. Every night, Jack finds his son asleep, exhausted, believing the boy is studying, and in a way, he's right. Matt studies well beyond the regular classes. Stick waits and hopes, running with Matt between the rooftops every day at dawn, unseen. On a spring morning, Jack feels like a champion again thanks to his 6 consecutive wins that earned him a big fight at Madison Square Garden. While Jack jogs, Fixer's car stops next to him. Fixer reveals that the fights Jack has been winning were set up and orders him to throw tomorrow's fight. The next night, round 4. Jack's corner remembers him to take the fall in the next round, urging him to think of his son. Jack thinks of Matt in the audience and of the times he told him to never give up, realizing that it's time to show his son that he's no quitter. He jumps to the next round, and within a few punches, he knocks out his opponent. Later, Jack exits the stadium, ready for what's coming. He's quickly surrounded by Fixer's goons, and they beat him to a pulp, Jack not even resisting, beyond caring, throwing a grin at the Fixer and meeting his end at the end of a gun. At the morgue, Matt touches his father's body. He knows about Jack's mob work to provide and protect him. Following the smells of the first 2 killers, Macchio and Williamson, Matt provokes the drunken men to attack him in a dark alley, and then an hour later, the police arrive to find both men beaten and battered. In the gym, the next 2, Slade and Marcello. Matt turns the lights off and instantly takes care of Marcello. Slade stumbles in the dark, finding Marcello on the floor. A single spotlight turns on, revealing Matt on the ring, wearing his father's clothes and mask, inviting Slade to face him. Slade looms over Matt, but remembering the taunts and beatings he withstood in recess, Matt releases his rage, breaking Slade's leg, and with a roll of pennies in his fist, he punches Slade time and time again, smelling the panic in the big man's sweat. At the door is the Fixer, witnessing the beating. Matt lets him go until he's finished with Slade, still hearing the footsteps and the painful sucking of hair of the mobster running to his car and his driver, Angelo, making them the last 2. It's easy to track them. Stick taught him well, but he'll hate him for this, Matt thinks, as he leaps on top of Fixer's limo. Matt breaks the windshield and Angelo crashes the car, sending Matt flying onto the pavement. Fixer uses this opportunity to escape into a subway station, but soon, feeling the taste of his own blood, Matt follows, until the Fixer has nowhere else to run, cocking his revolver as Matt hears his erratic breathing and his heart pounding, fluttering, stopping. Matt stands above the Fixer's body, but one remains, Angelo. Matt tracks him to a brothel, pouncing on him, but the women join the fight, and amidst the chaos, Matt pushes a girl through a window to her death. In horror, Matt runs from the scene, not believing in what he just did. He seeks his teacher at the basement and at the gym, but he can't find him, screaming his name with no answer. Blocks away, Stick speaks to a man in the shadows. The man tries to convince Stick to give Matt another opportunity, saying that they are all that stand between the worlds and forces of mystic darkness, needing young blood to help them, and only 2 adepts have been born, Matt Murdock and a girl named Electra. He continues explaining that the girl is already touched by darkness and might be recruited by the enemy, so Matt must get one more test. Stick refuses, calling the man stoned, saying that they can't let their order be compromised since Matt is too emotional and after what he did tonight is useless to them. 1 year later, at Columbia University, Franklin Nelson, or Foggy as his friends call him, runs from a bully. Later in his dormitory, he confers with his roommate, Matt Murdock, who helps Foggy with his black eye as he tells him who the bully is, Brad. Brad won't let up anywhere. Even in class he nags Foggy, until a long night where Brad is dragged from bed like a doll and carried across the campus rooftops, being held by the ankle high above the pavement. A warning to what could happen if he's anything but extremely pleasant to Foggy Nelson. The next day, Brad changes his tune and approaches Foggy to apologize, much to the nearby students' surprise. Matt is approached by Kathy, a girl from one of his classes, asking if he could help her study, but Matt makes an excuse to refuse. He knows she really doesn't need help, he just can't allow himself any emotion. At night, in the dormitory, Matt finds himself coming alive just when he should get sleepy. It's not the sound of Foggy's TV or even his snoring. It's outside, the wind that carries every sound, from the ocean to the power lines to the trees, surrendering winter leaves that rustle around. The city never sleeps, so Matt joins in, running across the rooftops, leaping through poles and wires until he senses something different. A human scent, not from a man, and a strong steady pulse moving across the rooftops. He gives chase, thinking that this girl must be crazy to be jumping around like that. He loses the scent for a moment, until he senses her chuckling, taunting him to follow her to the park. Matt runs across the street, leaping to avoid a car, and then, in the park, he hears her screaming for help, followed by another chuckle. He comes across a trail of her clothes, and continues, until he hears a car and two men. The police. Matt could run or flatten the cops, but he can't break the law, remembering the day he lost control. He surrenders himself, and as the cop checks his ID and wonders what a blind man is doing here at night, the girl that toyed with him gets away. The next day, Foggy and Matt walk in the campus when a convertible sports car abruptly stops in front of them. It's the girl from the day before, and as Foggy starts to protest, Matt hops in the car and she drives off at high speed. She drives like a maniac, and Matt tells himself he shouldn't enjoy this. She heads towards the mountains, and driving off-road makes an expert spinning stop, shy of a precipice. She gets out of the car, walking barefoot in the snow, and tells Matt that this is where they belong, always on the brink. As soon as she saw him on the rooftops, she knew they were two of a kind, drawn to the edge, and past it, as she leaps from the precipice. Matt is caught off guard, remembering the girl he pushed to her death. As the girl falls, Matt can't believe this is happening again, and hearing her plunging into water, he leaps to her rescue. In the water, he's completely blind, no smell and no sound. He emerges for air, only to hear the girl driving off, laughing. Later at the dorm, Matt arrives soaking wet, and Foggy asks him what happened. Matt diverts the question, so Foggy concludes he's been with that girl, calling her Electra, advising his friend that she's bad news. Changing his clothes, Matt asks only where Electra lives. At a well-guarded residence outside of town, Matt makes his move, sneaking past the fence. Inside, Matt lets the air, smells and sounds describe the place. A mansion. Foggy said Electra's father is some kind of big-shot diplomat, so she probably had it easy all her life. So Matt, a boy from the tenements of Hell's Kitchen, is ready to teach her a lesson. As he sneaks past the guards, approaching the house, he thinks that she's not right about him being a wild man. He can't control that part of himself, that Daredevil. He enters her room, feeling her scent, soaking it in, probing, and acts as intimate as if running his hands over her body. He discovers her many trophies in martial arts, all first prizes, and then makes his way out of the room, sensing a dog approaching. He immediately kicks the dog, disarming the guard running behind, and kicks him through a window. Now, Matt hears music drifting from below, where Electra expertly plays the piano as the guard falls through the ceiling into the party below. Electra gazes at Matt on the window above, until gunfire is unleashed upon him. He runs, thinking himself stupid for making such a mess, and realizing that amidst the confusion, Electra never stopped playing. Her father commands the guards to find the intruder, telling his daughter not to worry, but soon the guards report that he has escaped, but not before being shot in the arm. Bleeding, Matt runs all the way back to town, concentrating to find the strength he needs to make it back to his dorm. He leaves a trail of blood in his wake, and in his bathroom, he fights to stay conscious. He manages to clean and dress the wound, and allowing himself to relax, he feels the steam from the shower. He's not alone, and it's not Foggy. A few hours later, Foggy arrives at the dorm, finding the door closed with the chain on the other side. He calls Matt to open it, and his friend asks only for a minute. 1 minute turns to 20, and out through the door walks Elektra. Foggy can finally enter, finding the room destroyed, with Matt sitting on the floor, smiling. Elektra went home and tried to sleep, but the voices started again, so she's drawn to Times Square, to a corner where she hears a group of goons talking about what they've done to innocent women, so she allows them to follow her to an alley. This is the best she can do, obeying the urge but not the voices, which she believes are real. She made a mistake of telling her father about them once, being misinterpreted by the psychiatrists that followed, so she lied to get rid of them. The goons corner her as Elektra strips her fur coat. The voices wanted innocent blood, but she still can decide her own victims. She lets them get close and touch her, but with only 2 moves, the first one is dead, and startled, one of the others pulls out a gun. Elektra kills the second using his body as a shield for the bullets flying at her, quickly moving and disposing of the third. The fourth is armed with a chain, so she hopes for a challenge, but he's only big and stupid, so she instantly disarms and stabs him with her foot. Elektra uses the chain to disarm the one with the gun, punching her nose up her brain, leaving only the big one remaining, but easily she snaps his neck with the chain. It takes 20 minutes for the police to arrive, as Elektra hails a cab, being disappointed with the workout. It was better with Matt, in the campus gym at night. The only times she's not alone is with him, but she knows that it won't last, but for now she is happy, and so is Matt. That night, in the dorm, Matt receives an unexpected visit. Stick tells Matt to stay away from Elektra because she's on her way to the worst side, and she'll drag him with her. Stick would kill him before he joins the enemy, and as Matt tries to rebuke, Stick jabs his cane against his throat, leaving him unconscious. When he wakes up, Matt can only wonder if it was a dream. Matt thinks it's impossible for Elektra to be evil. She's the perfect mate for him, his wild, reckless lover. But when he hints at their future together, she tells him that he doesn't really know her, saying that she doesn't deserve him and should have been able to stop herself from getting involved. Matt tells her that she's everything he ever wanted, and without hesitation, she admits to have killed 5 men last week. Matt brushes this off as one of her crazy responses, and as she falls asleep, he says he loves her. Then, on a snowy day, they stand at the grave of Elektra's father. She tells Matt that death is what happens to the people she loves, saying that the voices killed him and the same can happen to Matt, so she must leave him. Matt cannot find a way to change her mind, or for her to explain, and just like that, she's gone. In time, he'll learn of the war that both she and Stick are a part of, and they'll meet again. But for now, he's just a young broken-hearted man, once again punished for breaking the rules. In Hell's Kitchen, at a summit conference of the leaders of the Manhattan underworld, they try to convince one of the leaders, Rigoletto, to deal in prostitution and drugs, since their profits are down and even mere street kids are surpassing them. Rigoletto refuses, telling them to stick to their old rackets and saying that they may be criminals, but they'll not be monsters. He tells everyone to leave, and alone at the table, he speaks to someone behind him in the dark. He vents his frustrations as big hands caress his shoulders, his head, and then snap his neck. This giant man has waited for years, a killer quietly making the proper connections that will soon be an unshakable stranglehold. They will obey him or die, and he will rule this city, the Lord of Crime, the Kingpin. It happens quickly. With a warlord's strategy and the precision of an accountant, the Kingpin reshapes the city's underworld. Profits are in the billions, from kidnapping and sale of children, distribution of state-of-the-art drugs that turn working citizens to hollow wretches, and from countless lives lost. Any in his ranks who lack the stomach are dealt with swiftly by the Kingpin's death squad of mercenaries. But the most feared of all is a silent man named Larks, who the Kingpin nurtured since he was a boy, training him in the many ways of death, driving his soul from him, leaving an icy mask for a face that finds pleasure only in cold cruelty. Years pass. Matt Murdock graduates from Harvard Law School and finds work at a Boston firm, but the past comes calling when he's sent back to New York. His hotel room feels like a prison, so he takes a walk at night, wandering into Hell's Kitchen, reminiscing on his childhood mischief, his father's boxing glories, and the recess where the nickname Daredevil was thrown many times by the bullies. Soon, he is surrounded by a group of burglars ready to steal his expensive suit, but Matt defends himself, disarming the first one attacking. He kicks the next two simultaneously and slams two more. Then, it is a matter of punishing them until unconsciousness. There's one still standing who runs away, but thinking of his school bullies, Matt runs after, knocking him out like the others. Recess is over. Matt should be relieved, but he just feels lost and alone. He goes to his favorite place, the gym. Now abandoned, but still holding all the dusty, sweaty smells. He's back in control, and calming his heart, he hears another. A girl. He gets her scent and comes to her hiding place. Matt already feels her using a slingshot, so he quickly catches the projectile, assuring her that he means no harm. She says her name's Mickey and that she's an orphan, but Matt knows she's lying, both times. She adopted the gym as her hideout, and Matt sees himself in her at that age. The two start to meet in the gym to train, and one day she comes across one of Jack Murdock's posters and connects the dots, asking Matt if that's his father. Matt tells her his dad's story and then explains how his bullies took his father's boxing name of Devil to nickname him. Weeks later, Matt catches up with his old roommate Foggy. He expresses some frustration with his current law work not being directed to people, but Foggy remarks that in turn his work is drowning with people, taking the opportunity to ask Matt for help. Matt leaps at the chance, and night after night they study the case together, Matt remembering why he wanted to become an attorney, to fight for justice, to fight the bullies. Meanwhile, the biggest bully in town makes his first mistake. It begins with a simple cut in costs in the film division, using real violence instead of special effects. Clay, the producer of one of these films, gets two junkies to kidnap a girl not older than 12. They discover Mickey in the gym as she goes to train alone, since Matt has been working at night with Foggy. The junkies grab her in a dark alley. She tries to fight back, but they use chloroform to put her out. At his hotel room, Matt gets a call from his firm telling him to come back to Boston. He takes a cab to the airport, but first he makes a stop at the gym to say goodbye to Mickey. He scans the gym for several minutes, not finding her, but outside he comes across the girl's favorite hat. He suspects something's wrong, and as he feels her address written with ballpoint inside the hat, he postpones his departure to find her. Across town, the junkies hold Mickey hostage while speaking with Clay on the phone. They tell him she's not 12 but 14, so Clay cuts their pay in half, and only until morning. Desperate for a drug fix, one of the junkies calls the girl's parents demanding a ransom. The despairing parents accept to deliver them $6,000 within the hour, agreeing not to call the police. But at their rooftop, Matt hears everything. Meanwhile, one of the junkies sells out the other to Clay, and eventually word reaches the kingpin. He sends Larks to take care of the situation, telling him not to restrain himself. An example must be made, and they must take what advantage they can from this situation. Clay leaves his office with just enough money to make a junkie agreeable, and entering his car, it explodes. 3 more remain for Larks. The junkies die, and the girl is at his leisure. At a payphone, Mickey's father speaks with her kidnapper. He makes the man run all over town to shake any cops that might be tailing him as Matt follows across the rooftops. Eventually, Mickey's father reaches the drop-off, leaving the money where agreed, and runs to the place the kidnapper told him the girl should be. Matt knows better, waiting at the drop-off site until the junkie comes eagerly for the money. He restrains himself, following the junkie to his hideout. But arriving at it, the junkie is shot in the head by Larks, showering Matt in blood. He gags, breaking his stealth, so Larks unleashes a barrage of gunfire. Matt dodges it in time, leaping down the stairwell, being too fast for Larks to catch up. Outside, Larks reports to the kingpin that the job is done and the girl is with him, but alerting him of the man that fled, wondering if he's a cop. The kingpin says that he cannot be a cop since he has the police on his payroll, concluding that it could be a vigilante or a rival gang, ordering Larks to move the girl to the main distribution center and await instructions. At the main distribution center, Mickey screams while being led to a room by Larks. She thinks no one can hear her, while outside, Matt reaches the place dressed in black and wearing a blindfold as a mask. He scans the place, hearing not only Mickey, but hundreds of other children in the building. He sneaks on top of the power lines to reach closer, taking out 2 unsuspecting guards on the roof, and then a third one, even more distracted, listening to music. Matt lowers himself to sabotage the cars so no one can escape, and sensing 2 more guards outside, he urges forward, making no sound. With a stealthy approach, Matt tackles the 2 guards off of a dock and into the water. The fat one offers no struggle, while the other offers a knife that Matt quickly returns. The fat one is being pulled down by the weight of a bag full of grenades, so Matt swims to get it, ties it to the dock, and releases a pin. He crawls to the surface just in time for the explosion, alerting everyone inside the building to come outside. It makes no difference. Matt concentrates, making no sound, plunging into the mass of men, kicking, punching, and using a baton, knocking out every single one of them. Inside, an engine roars to life, and the truck comes crashing through the building with the men inside firing on Matt. He avoids the bullets, and in all the chaos, he loses track of Mickey, but she doesn't lose faith as Larks drags her to a car. She tries to intimidate him with Matt's capabilities, as Larks fails to start the sabotaged engine. Outside, Matt continues his escape until his pursuers give up the chase, and with a sudden sinking feeling, Matt knows why. The police tell him to freeze, and as dozens of cops try to restrain him, Matt concentrates, ignoring the surroundings, trying to reach Mickey. The girl screams his name, and restrained inside the police car, Matt locks on her, swiftly freeing his legs and kicking the division to the front seats, causing the driver to crash. Larks hails a cab and kills the driver. One more murder, Matt thinks, still locked in. He gets rid of the handcuffs and gets in the driver's seat. A dizzy lineman is not much of a driver, but Matt gives chase nonetheless, getting closer now until he T-bones the taxi. Larks takes the girl and breaks into a nearby building to hide, but Matt knows exactly where they are, following them inside. He tells Larks to let the girl go, not wanting to kill him, but Larks resists, threatening the girl with his gun. Matt repeats the same demand, and Larks shoots him in the arm. Matt doesn't flinch, asking the same again. Larks shoots to kill this time, and Matt deflects the bullet with his baton. Confused, Larks asks if he's the devil, but Matt asks to be called Daredevil instead, repeating the same demand as before. Larks loses his patience, as Matt begs not to have to kill him, but in the end, Larks shoots again, and as before, Matt deflects it, but this time into Larks' head, right between the eyes. By the time the cops arrive, Matt is gone, leaving a mystery and the first rumblings of a legend. Daredevil. The name is to be heard again from thugs to victims. The name of an unseen avenger, a savior of the innocent. The name flits through the Kingpin's mind. One man has shattered an operation years in the making, costing millions and dozens of his lieutenants. But soon, everything will be back in order, and the Kingpin will not be touched, his empire growing again. Always wondering who this Daredevil is, and why does he worry him so. Matt sits in the rain laughing, the angry voice of his boss firing still in his mind. He couldn't leave New York now even if he wanted to. He's back home to a new life. Soon, Matt and Foggy sit in a diner, agreeing to open an office together to put into practice the ideals they shared in college, flipping a coin to know which name comes first on the door. Foggy fumbles the toss, and the coin ends up down the counter, catched by a presence long missed but never forgotten. Stick. He takes his time to finish his coffee, and then, heading out, Stick tells Matt to watch his back, giving back the coin, saying that he lost the toss and to not get cocky. It was at that moment, when Mickey's life hung in the balance, that the wild side of Matt found itself calm and clear, and he became a man. It was in that moment that the name came back to him, the name he once hated, that now he wears as a badge. Let all the bullies know that they have an enemy and a caution to fear. Matt sued it himself, and God only knows how it looks.